guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about if clauses, conditional sentences. They're really significant when you want to express yourself in a good way. To be honest, without if clauses I can't speak English because they're really common. You need to learn conditional sentences. Before we start, I want to give you an example about what condition is so you can understand what condition is. It helps you to understand conditional sentences. For example, I want to go outside with my friends and my mom says, "Okay, Nida, you want to go out, but you have to do your homework. If you do your homework, you can go out." So in this sentence, you can assume that our condition is I have to do my homework. The most important part is I have to do my homework. This is our condition. So if I do my homework, I can go out. Basically, conditional sentences have two parts, two clauses. We have an if clause and we have a main clause. The if clause tells you the condition, if you study hard, and the main clause tells you the result, you will pass your exam. So if you study hard, this is our if clause, and we have a main clause, you will pass your exams. The order of the clauses doesn't change the meaning, so we can make the sentence like this. You will pass your exams if you study hard, but in this case, we don't use a comma. If we use if in the middle, we don't use a comma. Don't forget that. What is comma? Comma is like this. You will pass your exams if you study hard, so we don't use a comma. Don't forget that. Conditional sentences are divided into 4 parts. Zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, and lastly we have third conditional sentences. Today I'm going to teach you all of them, but not the mixed conditionals, later. Let's start with the zero conditional. We use the zero conditional to talk about things that are generally true, especially for laws and rules. For example, if I drink too much coffee, I cannot sleep at night. So, this is always true for me. What about you? When the sun goes down, it gets dark. You cannot change it, right? When sun goes down, it gets dark. This is why it's called like factual condition. When it comes to the structure of this zero conditional, in the if clause we use present simple, and in the main clause we use present simple again. It's real simple, isn't it? But instead of using if, you can also use when. Actually, they have the same meaning. So you can use when. Ice melts when you heat it. Ice melts if you heat it. So we have the same meaning. All in all, we can say that if this happens, this is what happens. They're all connected to each other. We can also use the conditional to talk about habits that are always true for us. So imagine that I have a sister, and when she gets higher points from her exams, I always give her chocolate. This is always true for us. Bad habits. Let's continue with the first conditional. We use the first conditional when we talk about future situations we believe are real or possible. If something happens, it will happen. So they're connected to each other again, but we don't know if it happens or not. If you study hard, you will pass your exam. Vice versa. If you don't study hard, you won't pass your exam. So this is your choice. This is not certain. If you study, this will happen. But if you don't study, this will happen. So this result clause is connected to our condition. So if you do, it will happen. But if you don't, it won't happen. This is your choice. If you study English, you will learn English. But if you don't study English, you won't learn English, guys. Study then. Imagine that I have a friend who is called Melissa, and we don't talk anymore. So Melissa is organizing a party, and I don't know if she invites me or not. So my friends ask me, "Will you come to the party?" And I say, "I don't know. If she invites me, I will come. But if she doesn't invite me, I won't come, of course." So I don't know. It depends on Melissa. If she invites me, I will come, of course. But if she doesn't invite me, I won't come. So let's continue with the structure of first conditional. In the if clause, we use present simple again. In the main clause, we use will or want plus infinitive, the verb want. Let's talk about the second conditional. We use the second conditional to talk about imaginary things that are not true, that are not real. So we can say that this is a hypothetical situation, right? We use the second conditional to imagine that the present situation is different. For example, if I had money, I would buy a golf. In this sentence, you can understand that I don't have enough money to buy a golf. But if I had enough money, I would buy a golf. You should know that in the second conditional, we talk about the things that are not true. This is the most significant part, okay? Don't forget that. Another example. If we had a garden, we would have a cat. But in this sentence, you should understand that we don't have a garden. But I imagine if we had a garden, we would have a cat. And if you want to sound, oh, I use if. And if you want to sound more natural, you can use contractions. If I had enough money, I'd buy a boat. So instead of using I would buy, you can say I'd buy, I'd buy, I'd, he'd, you'd, they'd, like this. Then if it's followed by the verb be, it's grammatically correct to say if I were, if he were, if she were, or if it were. However, it's also common to hear these structures with was, especially in the he and she form. For example, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. If I were you, I wouldn't mention it. So, can I be you? No, of course. It's impossible, right? I cannot be you. So, it's unreal. It's imaginary situation. So, I imagine if I were you, I wouldn't mention it. Another situation. Imagine. If I were you, I wouldn't forgive him. He's an evil. If I were you, I wouldn't forgive him because he's an evil. Everyone knows that. Yes. When it comes to structure of second conditional, in the if clause we use past simple, and in the main clause we use would plus verb 1. You know that all modal verbs are followed by infinitive form of the verbs. So would plus verb 1. Instead of using would, you can also use could. If we had a garden, we could have a cat. We could have a cat. So instead of using would, you can use could too. Let's talk about third conditional. We use third conditional to imagine a different past, especially when we regret about something that we did in the past, and talk about the things that we wish we could change about the past. So we cannot change them, right? We can't. We use third conditional to imagine a different past. If you had called me, I would have come. So in this situation, you can understand that you didn't call me. So if you had called me, I would have come. So my heart is broken. You should have called me, but you didn't. I wish that I could change it because I'd love to come, but you didn't call me. So I cannot change the past, right? Let's continue with another example. If I had left earlier, I wouldn't have missed my flight. But in the reality, I missed my flight, so I regret about this. So I imagine the past is different, but it's impossible. Another example. If she had replied my message, I wouldn't have been so worried. But she didn't reply my message, so I was worried. So I'm kind of telling her off. Did she reply my message? No, she didn't. So I'm a bit frustrated. If I had taken better care of myself, I wouldn't have been sick. Nowadays, you know, we have coronavirus around, so we have to care about ourselves better. So I'm expressing regret about the past. I wish I had taken better care of me, but I didn't, so I got sick. Besides, we can replace would have with other modal verbs, might have and could have. Let's give an example. If she had studied more, she might have passed, but she didn't. Because she might have failed again. We don't know. This is not certain. That's why we use might, because it's not certain. If you had lent me your car, I could have got there faster. But you didn't. You didn't. Why? Because of you, I was late. All in all, our lesson is finished. I hope that you like the lesson and you understand the topic. If you want me to do another conditional sentences video, please let me know in the comments below. I will be waiting for your comments. And I'll see you soon. Stay safe.